Hi guys, welcome to the 2 weeks web development bootcamp. Today is the seventh day of the web development bootcamp. In our last class, we treated um, pseudo class selector and pseudo element selector. So today we're going to be looking at layout, positioning, transition, and transform. All right, let's go straight to our Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it class 7. So yeah, I'm going to open, okay, I'll create a new file in class 7 folder. I'll call it position.html, and I'll generate my HTML boilerplate. So I'm going to call this CSS positioning. All right, CSS positioning, and I'm also okay. Let's go back to the note. Yeah, it says detailed explanation of CSS layout, positioning, transitions, and transform. Transform. So types of positioning. Apparently, we have five types of positioning in CSS. We have the static position, the relative position, the absolute position, the fixed position, and the sticky position. So we are going to be looking at these one after the other. So yeah, CSS positioning controls how elements are placed in a web page. It controls how elements are placed in a web page. So with CSS positioning, you can place an HTML element anywhere. I repeat, anywhere in a web page. So determining their relationship to other elements and the viewport. So let's look at static positioning, which is the default positioning for every HTML element. Here it says it is the default position of every HTML element. So elements appear in the normal document flow. So and cannot use top, left, right, or bottom position. So this is what it's trying to say here, that by default, every element, every HTML element has a default position, as in that's the default position of every HTML element, which is static. The default position of every HTML element. You get that now? And you cannot use offset like top, left, right, bottom properties to be able to alter the position of the element in a web page. You get that now? So by default, just know that every HTML element has a static position by default. Every HTML element, whether inline element, block element, whatever. So, all right. So let's look at relative positioning. So relative positioning positions an element or HTML element relative to its original what position. So let's come here. I'm going to let me do like a div or probably a paragraph here, and I'm going to do lorem 20. I think I explained this lorem this one certain time like that during this bootcamp, that in the event you don't have content and you needed content, you can use this dummy text. So lorem 20 simply means it's going to generate 20 words. So we have this, and let's say I want to make a particular part, but let me make it lorem 30. Oh, it's okay like this. Let me make this part, this particular portion of the paragraph. Let me cut it and I'll put it in a span tag. Yeah, put it in a span tag. So let me use an inline element, sorry, inline styling. Let me do inline styling. Let me give this a background color of green. And okay, let me look for a shade of green. Okay, take that one is better. Then also um a border radius. Okay, a border of 2 pixels solid, and let me look for a deeper color. Yeah. So if I save, let's open this in our browser. So look at what we have here. Nice. I think I like this. So let's do some styling. So I'll come to the head tag, title tag, and I do paragraph. Let me just select the paragraph. I'm going to give it a width of, let's say, 200 pixel, and a border of 2 pixel solid. Let me give it red. So let's see what we have here. Good, 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 good. Let me center it. So to center, I'll just do margin, zero, and auto. Of course, you remember all of this. So yeah, so this is a paragraph. So let's look at how we can move this particular styled text, this portion of the text, the portion of the paragraph, this particular portion that is styled. We gave it a green color, a shade of green. So we want to move it relative to its actual position in the document flow. In this flow, we want to move it from its original position. So that's the essence of relative. So relative positioning simply means moving or positioning an element relative to its own original position. So you can use top, right, bottom, left properties to move the element from its original spot or from its original position, but it occupies its original space in the layout. So this is what it's saying here. Okay, let's look at it in practical. There are some things that are better explained when we practicalize it. So for us to be able to move this span text relative to its original position, so we need to select the span. So I think I'll have to convert this to an embedded styling. Let me convert this to an embedded styling. Yeah. So I'll come here, I'll select the span, I'll paste. So let me remove this quote. All right, good. So I'm going to do position. So if you want to position an element, whether relatively, absolutely, or fixed or sticky, you have to use the proper the position property. So you do position. So the value we are looking at is relative. Can you see the values of the position? Absolute, fixed, relative, statics, and what sticky. So we are looking at relative. So we want to move our span text relative to its original position. So now that we've set it to what position relative, now it is now position relative. But though nothing changed, so we have to use the offset, the direction, top, left, right, bottom, to be able to move the element relative to its what original what position. So let's look at that. So I'll do top now. If I do top and I do something like 20 pixels, so you can use pixel, you can use percentage, you can use rem. So like I said, when we get to web responsive design, that is where I'm going to talk um, on absolute unit and relative unit. So until then, let's still be using pixel. So I say pixel, 20 pixel, and look at. So can you see it moves the span, the content is it's being moved 20 pixel away from its original position. So can you see the original position is still maintained. The space that the span text occupies originally is still what maintained. Is still maintained. So you can see how we moved it 20 pixel away from its original position. And we can also do left too as well. We can do 40 pixel. So it's going to move it 40 pixels away from the left. Can you see 40 pixels away from the left? And you can also make it right. So if we do right now, I will say 20 pixel or 30 pixel. So it's going to take it 30 pixel away from the what? From the right. You see that now? So that's that about relative. It's simple. There's nothing um mystical about it. You get, so it's very simple. So the next one we are going to look at is absolute positioning. Yeah, absolute what? Positioning. You see this one, you have to really pay attention to be able to understand absolute positioning. So it's different from relative positioning. So for absolute positioning, it says it. So let's read this. Removes the element from the normal document flow, unlike relative. Unlike relative, whereby the original position that the span is occupying is still what? Preserved. But for relative, for absolute positioning, is it removes the element from the normal document flow and position it relative to its nearest positioned ancestor, if none positions relative to the HTML element. Then it now says here that does not occupy space in the layout. So let me use another text here. Sorry, another textbook here. Yeah. So it says absolute positioned elements are removed from the document flow entirely and positioned with respect to the viewport or containing element. Two things you need to pay attention to as regards absolute positioning. One is that absolute positioning is positioned with respect to one, the viewport, two, a containing what? Element, and three, the space they would have occupied is what? Close up. The space they would have occupied is closed up. So with absolute positioning, you can place an object anywhere in the viewport or within another element. So let's look at something here. So I'm just going to comment this one, or should I just remove it? Okay, let me comment this. I can still make use of this. I'll just change some things here. All right, so imagine now for absolute positioning. Let's still use this example. For absolute positioning, we want to absolutely position the span text, this text, either relative to its parent element or relative to what? To its viewport. Do you get that now? Relative to what? Its viewport. Because there are two things you need to pay attention to when you are absolutely positioning an element. So you have to ask yourself, am I positioning it relative to the viewport of the browser or relative to its containing element? So apparently in this span now, the containing element of this span is what? The p tag. That's the parent element. Is what? The p tag. Get that now? The p tag. That's the containing element of the span. So now you can either absolutely position the span relative to its containing element, or you can position the span relative to the browser's viewport. You get that now? So there are two things. So now the thing is, if you want to make this span text to be relative to its containing element, which is the paragraph, you have to set the paragraph position to what? Relative. You have to set the paragraph position to relative, because apparently the paragraph is the containing element of this span. So now we set the paragraph to be what? Relative. Then now we have to now set the span to be what? Absolute. So I'll come here, I'll set it to what? Absolute. I'll set it to absolute. So now this is it here now. So the span now will be absolutely positioned, will be relative to what? To the containing element. So this span will be relative to its containing element. So if we are moving the span text, is going to be relative to its containing element, which is the paragraph. You get that now? So please take note of that. The first one we looked at, which was relative, meaning that you can move the element relative to its own original position, to the HTML element's original position. But in this case, we are moving the span tag relative to what? To the containing element. You get that now? So we set the containing element position to be relative. Then the span that we are moving, we set it to what? Absolute. So if you set it to be absolute without this offset, let me remove the offset here. Let's see what we are going to get. In fact, let me see. I can. No, 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 no. Okay, hold on. Okay, good. Yeah. So now watch. When I set it to position, okay, before setting it to position absolute, let me comment this and save. Look at what we have. Can you see the flow? Look at the flow. Now, if I uncomment this and I save, can you see what's happening now? So it has been removed from the flow. The position that the element is will have occupied originally has been what? Closed up. The position has been closed up. So now I can now move this. I can say top 20 pixel. If I do 20 pixel now, look at what we have. Can you see it's moving it 20 pixel from the top? And if I do 40, it's going to move it 40 pixel from the top of the containing element. You see that now? And I can do left. Hold on. Can do left to be, let's say, 20 pixel. And look at, fine, it's going well. That is if now you can see that the span is absolutely positioned to its to its parent element or containing element. But if we don't want it to be relative to its containing element, rather we want it to be relative to the viewport. That means you have to remove position relative from the containing element. So once you remove position relative from the containing element, then is going to be what? Relative to the browser's viewport. Can you see? Not to the containing element anymore, but what? To the browser's what? Viewport. You see that now? To the browser's what? Viewport. So you can see 40 pixel away from the browser's viewport, right? Then 20 pixel away from the browser's viewport with, you see that now? That's it now. So it is relative to the viewport of the browser, not to the containing element. You get that now? You might want to ask, what's now the use case? What's now the use case? The thing is, the use case is more often than not, you always want to use absolute position when you only want to use absolute position in a containing element, not relative to the viewport. Because if you want something relative to the viewport, there's already a position value for that, which is fixed. You get that now? Which is fixed. But if you want to absolutely position an element as it relates, if you want to absolutely position an element to its containing element or its parent element, then you can use absolute positioning. You get that now? You can use absolute positioning. All right, let's move on. So I'm going to make so let's look at fixed position now. So for fix, I'm going to make let's see what I can do here. I'm going to make mm, okay, I'm going to make this pan. Okay, let's use another one. Let's use another one. I'm just going to clear this, and I'll also clear this one too. Clear this one, then I think I have some. So I'm going to use this one. I got this one from W3 school. website. So I'm going to paste it here. This will help me to save time. So this is what we have here. So I'm just going to copy this one too. I'll paste it here. I will make this fixed. Now you see. Okay, before I make it fixed, let me comment it. Okay, actually this is sticky anyways, but what we want to do is fixed. We'll look at sticky later. So ignore the content, the sticky, whatever. So now we have this text here. We have this text here, this web page. We have the paragraph, we have the div, and we have this here. This div that is holding like three paragraphs or four paragraphs actually. So we giving it, we gave it a padding bottom of 2000 pixel. That's why we're able to scroll up and down. You get that? So now I want to make this particular portion. That's where is it? We want to make this div here. We want to make it fixed. You get that now? We want to make it what? Fixed. In fact, let me change it to fixed so I won't get confused. Oh, let's just leave it. So I want to make it fixed actually. I want to make this to be what? Fixed. So how can I fix this? How can I make it fixed? Because for fix is used to fix is relative to the browser's viewport. Yes, let's use it's relative to the browser's viewport. So if you come here, where is it? Can you see for the fixed positioning? Here it says that it is used to position an element in one position in the viewport, even when the document scrolls. So fixed elements are removed from the document flow and positioned relative to the viewport rather than another element in the what document. So please take note. Then if you look at here, it says fixed positioning positions the element relative to the viewport. Please take note, viewport, meaning it stays in place even when the page is what scrolled. So it is useful for navigation bars or for sticky header. It is useful for navigation bars or for sticky header. So let's look at the use case now. So I want to make this to be fixed. So what am I going to do? I'll just come here. So I've selected it up here. So div dot sticky. So just ignore the sticky. So div dot sticky. Then uncomment this. So I'm just going to make this position what fix. So I do for position fix. Can you see position fix? Look at what we have here. See what we have here now. So can you see we set the top to be what is 0 pixel. Look at is 0 pixel is relative to the viewport. Can you see it's staying at 0 pixel top of the viewport is 0. You see that? And if I do something like left also to be what is 0. See, look at left is 0, top is 0. Then I can stretch it. Okay, I say okay, I want it to cover the entire viewport width. So if I want you to cover the entire viewport width, I can either do width to be 100%. So it's going to cover it like this. You see that? Width will be 100% and it's going to cover this part here. So you see, and if you scroll, can you see? Can you see? This is fixed. It is fixed. That's the use case of fix. You see that now? So it is fixed to the viewport width. It is fixed to the viewport, the browser's viewport. So you see that that is that about fixed. You get that now. So let us look at sticky. So let's look at sticky. So here it says that sticky positioning is a hybrid of relative and fixed. It's a hybrid of relative and what fixed. The element is positioned relative until it crosses a defined scroll threshold, after which it behaves like what fixed. So it requires top, left, right, or bottom what property. So I think I have a detailed explanation for this. Let me go to my readme. So yeah, okay, where is it? Yes, sticky position. So here it says that sticky property in CSS is a hybrid of relative and fixed positioning. It allows an element to stick to a specified offset when the user scrolls, but only within its parent container. This where sticky is different from what fixed positioning. You see that now? This is different between sticky. This is where sticky is different from fixed positioning, because fixed positioning allows an element to be fixed to the browser's viewport. But for sticky, it allows element to stick to a specified offset when the user scrolls, but only within its parent container. Only within what? Its parent container. So how sticky works. So let's look at it. Relative behavior. Initially, the element behaves like a relatively positioned element, meaning it stays in its normal flow. You get that now? Then we have the fixed behavior. It says when the element reaches a defined position using top, left, right, or bottom during scrolling, it becomes what? Fixed relative to its parent container. It remains stuck at the position until the parent element is scrolled out of view. Until the parent element is scrolled out of view. Let's read that again. Let's read that again. It says for the now sticky positioning has two behaviors: relative behavior and what? Fixed behavior. So for the relative behavior, initially the element behaves like a relative position element, meaning it stays in its normal flow. While for the fixed behavior is when the element reaches a defined position, and we define the position using the offset made available to us: top, the left, the right, or the bottom. So when the element reaches a defined position during scrolling, it becomes fixed relative to its to its parent container. It remains stuck at the position until the parent container is scrolled out of view. So let us look at key characteristics of static or of sticky positioning in CSS. So parent boundary. The element only sticks within the boundaries of its parent container. Once the parent container is scrolled out of view, the sticky element scroll away with it. Then stacking order. It says sticky element obey Z index and stacking rules like other positioned elements. So we are going to look at Z index also. So let's go straight to the point. So yeah, we have this paragraph and we have this div with the content I am sticky. Then we have this container here, this container that is holding this content, this div that is holding three or I think four paragraphs here. So this is it here. I think where is it from here? So this is the content of the div. All right. So we have I am sticky. We have this I am sticky content. So I'm just going to comment this. So can you see this is the normal flow now? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it from fixed to what? Sticky. I'm going to change it from fixed to sticky. So I will remove this left. I don't want it. I don't want left here. So if I save, now watch as I scroll. Can you see? As I scroll, just hold on. As I scroll, when it gets to look at, it becomes sticky. Unlike fixed. As I scroll, then you see it becomes sticky. So we provided the offset, that's the position. Top is zero. So it's going to stay at the top. So if I make it like 10 pixel now, it's going to stay 10, it's going to be sticky, it's going to stay 10 pixel away from the top. Can you see it? 10 pixel away from what? From the top. 10 pixel away from the top. So let's make it what? Zero. Let's make it 0. See that now. Good. So this is nice. So that's sticky. That's sticky element. So we are going to look at the use case of it. We're going to look at the use case. So here it says when to use position sticky. When should we use it? It says for table header to keep column header visible while scrolling through a table. The navigation menus, if you navigation menu, sticky menus or sections at the top while scrolling. If you want to have a sticky menu or sections at the top while scrolling, then also for interactive element, if you want to keep action buttons or labels in view while scrolling a long form. So common issues. Okay, for common issues, we have when there's no top value, left value, or right value, or bottom value specified, the sticky position won't activate unless one of these properties is what defined. You get that now? Property is defined. So that's that. And we also have parent containers overflow, hidden or scroll. It says that if the parent container has overflow hidden or overflow scroll, the sticky element might not behave as expected. Then here we have cross-browser support. So position sticky is widely supported by many required vendor preface require okay, it's widely supported, but may require vendor prefixes in older versions of browser. So maybe probably I'll make this note available to you guys for those that will be watching this later on my YouTube channel. All right, so if you are new to my YouTube channel and um you like this content, you are being enlightened. So please do well to subscribe, like and what? Comment. Please, it means a lot to me. Subscribe, like and what? Comment. Thank you very much. So let's look at transform. Let's look at transform. We don't have time. Let's look at transform. So we are done with this. Okay. Okay. Before we look at transform, let's see something like let's look at Z index. Let's see. So I'm just going to remove this content. I don't need it anymore. Or let's create something here. Let me do another. I'll call it Z index.html. Yeah. Z index.html. I'm going to generate my boilerplate. So I'll call it CSS Z index. So let's say we have a div. I'll call it container. I'll call it okay. Let's call it container. Then we have for div. So divs. Let me make it short. Dot. Then let me give it a class of box. Yeah. So box times 4. I want to have 4 divs. So I'll make this on 1, 2, 3, and what 4. All right, good. So I'm going to do this style tag. So I'll say dot container. Let me give it a width of let's say width of 600 pixel. My okay, wait. Let's make it 400 and the height of 600 pixel. I think we are good to go. Then so let's select the box too as well. For the box, I'm going to give it I'll give it a definite height of let me make it 150 pixel and a width of 200 pixel. Okay, let me give this height here 500. So now do dot box. So I'm going to select each of the box n child one. So I explained this in our last class. So if you don't understand n child, please, I'm going to drop a link on of this last class video on the on YouTube, so you can go and watch it. All right, I'm going to make this red. I'll also do dot box. I'll make this blue. So dot box. No, I'm going to make this green. Then dot box 4. I'm going to make this yellow. So if you save, let's open that. Let's open it on a browser. So this is what we have here. In fact, let me make this container a border. Let me give it a border of 2 pixel solid, and what color should I give it now? Let's say hot pink or black. I think I like black. Can you see? Look at what we have here. Look at. So if you notice, the content is even sticking out. Apparently, the reason is because we gave the container a definite height value of 500 pixel. But if you calculate the total height of the boxes that is inside of the container, we give it the height of 150 and we have 4 boxes here. So 4 times 150, that makes it what 600 in total. So that's why you can see the last box is sticking out of the content or of the container. You see that now? It's taken out of the container. Is parent element. It's taken out of the parent element. The reason is because the parent element height cannot contain the total height of the children element. That's the boxes. So but let me use that opportunity to teach you overflow. Let me use that opportunity to teach you overflow. So now if you don't like the way this last box is sticking out of the container, or probably it might even be a text content, and probably the text is taken out of his container and you might not like it. So there's a way you can hide this. You can say, okay, I don't want to see this. So for you to hide it, you can set overflow to be what? Hidden. So you have to go to the parent element. That is the container. You go to the parent element, then you say overflow, because since the children element is overflowing out of what? The parent element. So you go to the parent element and set the overflow property. So we have 4 values. We have auto, we have hidden, we have scroll, and we have what? Visible. You get that now? So let's make it what? Let's do hidden first. If you do hidden and you save, can you see? You can't see that part again. You can't see the other part that is what? Shooting out or sticking out of what? Of the container. All right, if we don't want to do hidden, let's say I do something like scroll, for example. If I do scroll, now watch what we have here. Let me bring this. Yes. If I do scroll and look at what we have, can you see? So we're having a scroll bar here, horizontal scroll bar, and we also have we're having a vertical scroll bar, and also we also have a space for what? Horizontal scroll bar here. So we have looked at hidden and scroll, or you can also do what's the last one again? I'm coming. Okay, visible. If we make it, I think the default is visible. I guess the default is visible. That's where you see the element is sticking out. So if you don't want it to be visible, if you don't want to be hidden, if you don't want it to be scroll, you can also do auto. So if you do auto, it's going to so the auto is like a shorthand for overflow X or overflow Y. You get that now? Can you see? So see, this is better. Auto. You get that now? That's for overflow. That's when your content is overflowing out of what the container, and you want to be able to control it. So you can go to the container and set the overflow to anything. So apparently, this is vertically overflowing. So you can do overflow X, sorry, overflow Y like this, and if you save, you are good to go. And you can make it scroll, you can make it auto, you can make it anything. You see that now? So anyways, let's make it auto. So let me remove the dash y there. So that's it. So let me just I can comment this part now. So that's just to explain um overflow. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to make this container to be what? Position relative, because I want to absolutely position each of the box element relative to its containing element, which is this container here. So what I'm going to do is, since I already have the box, the div here have a generic class value, which is box, 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 and I want to set position absolute to each of the box. So since I already have it selected here, box, this class value box, I'm just going to do position what? Absolute. So it's going to affect all the div that has the what? The class name of what? Box. So now watch, you can't see any other thing again aside from this white, sorry, this yellow color. So that's the behavior of when you set the position to what? Absolute. So you can't see the first box, the second box, the third box. You're only seeing the fourth box. So the reason is because um it's not that the three other boxes have disappeared. Of course, you can, it still is behind the yellow box, is behind what? The yellow box. So this will lead me to what we call z index. So z index property determines the stacking order of elements along the z axis. So it determines the stacking order of elements along the z axis. So it talks about depth. So the higher the Z index values are displayed in front of lower values. So higher Z index value are displayed in front of lower Z index. So by default, the value is what? Auto. By default, the value is auto. So now look at it, only works on element. Please pay attention. It only works on elements with a position of what? Relative, absolute, fixed, or sticky. Not for static, but only works for element with position of relative, absolute, fixed, and what? Static. So let's look at now. You can see that the only thing that you are seeing here is the yellow box here. So let's come to z index. Let's come to box one, and I do z index of, let's say, 1. So you are going to be seeing um the first box, because since the first box is having a higher z index than the others, because apparently, since we did not set z index for other boxes that we have here, so their default is going to be auto. So since this box one is having a z index of 1, so this is the one, so this is what is going to be showing. You get that now? So this is what is going to be what's showing. So this is very, very useful most of the times when you want um a particular content or a particular section to be on top while others will be behind. You get that now? So it's very, very important. So we are going to even look at the use case of it in our website. You get that now? We'll look at the use case of it in our website. Let me show you, I think, the Asian website here. Yeah. Um is- okay, let me inspect. So when I inspect, I do this. So if I click on this menu, so can you see? So this is showing other content are behind this nav bar, or this navigation menu here. They are behind it. Other content are still showing. So when I scroll, can you see it now? So we can use can use Z index for that too as well. And okay, let's move on. So let's see how we can stack this. We can um, s- set up like how am I going to put it? Like a cross with this four box. We want to do something like a cross with this four box, something like a cross shape with this four box. So what am I going to do? So this is it here. Let me enlarge this a bit. Yes. Um, let me make this. Let me make this 600. The width of the container to be 600. Okay, good. So let's come here. So for box one, I want box one. So I want to create like a cross shape. You get that now? Cross shape. So I'm going to select box one. So let me remove the Z index. Now you understand it. So I want box one to be at the center. So I'm just going to do top or not top. I'll do left. I want to take, I think that would be 200 pixel. If I'm not mistaken. Yes. So I'll move it 200 pixel from the left. Why the second element? Just watch what I'm doing. For the second element, I'm going to do top. I'll move it 200 pixel from the top. Can you see? Okay, not 200 pixel, 150 pixel. Since the height of the box is what 150, so I want the vertex point of each of the boxes to be touching, of each of the boxes to touch each other. So I'll do one. So then the third one, So we want to move the third one to the left, to the right side. So what am I going to do? I'll do I'll do left. So I'm going to move it 400 pixel from the left. So if you say, can you see 400 pixel from the left? So I'm going to push it down. So I'll do top to be 150 pixel. So can you see we are getting there? So I'll take this fourth one now to this part here. So for the fourth one, I'm going to make it top to be, if I'm to move it down to this place, that's going to be 150 plus 150, that's 300 pixel. So it's just calculation. Can you see? Then I shift it, I move it 200 pixel from the left. So let's see, 200 pixel from what? From the left. So can you see this now? So this is what I'm talking about. Very simple. So you can see how we are moving the element just with what the knowledge of what positioning. See that now? Fantastic. All right. So that's that about positioning. So let's look at adding transitions with the transition property. Let us add transitions with this transition property. So here it says transitions create smooth animations between property changes. Animation creates smooth animation between property changes. So if you want to transition from one color to another color, let's say for example, if you hover on a button and you want to, when you hover on the button, you want the background color of the button to change, but you don't want the change to be sudden. You want to have a smooth transition or a smooth animation between the previous background color and the background color. When you hover on it, we can use what? Transitioning. So let's come here. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it transition. Call it transition.html. Transition.html. So, all right, to generate a boilerplate. So I'll make this CSS transition. So let's say we have a button and I give it click me. So I'm going to do a style tag. So I'm going to select the button because by default, when you click on this, hold on, let me open it in our browser. So can you see? Look at the button. Let me zoom it a bit. No, 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 no. All right, I think this is better. Now look at what we have here. You have a button, and the content of the button is what click me. You can see that the button already have a predefined styling. The button already has a predefined styling. You can see it comes with its own background, its own border. What do you call it now? Its own border width and color and all. And if you over on the button, the color will change. You see that now? The color will change, but it's just that it's sudden. So let's see how we can alter that. Let's alter that. So I'm going to make this I'm going to do border. I want border to be none. Yes, and I want background color to be, let's say, hot pink. Yes, and I want the color to be white. So I can either do something like this, white. So if I save, and I want the font weight to be bold, and also the font size to be like 20 pixel. So if you save, that's what we have here. Can you see? Very good. So I'm just going to give it a padding top, let's say 10 pixel, 20 pixel top and left and right. I'm going to do a border radius of 20 pixel. So let's see what we have here. All right, good. See, it's nice. So apparently, if you over on it, can you see? You can see you are seeing this arrow, or yes, this arrow sign there, but we don't want that. So I want a situation where when I over on it, I want to be able to have that pointer cursor, that cursor pointer. So I'm just going to do cursor to be what pointer. So if I save that now, and if I over, can you see? All right. So let's change the color when we want to, when we over on it. So I'll do button, and I'll do over. This is a pseudo class selector. So I'm just going to change the background to I don't want this background. Let's give it a different background. Let's say I want yes, I want this. So if you save, you come here, now watch. Notice that it is sudden. It is sudden. But that we don't want the color to be sudden. We want to have a smooth transition between the two colors. So let's see how we can do that. So that's the reason why we want to, I'm teaching you transitioning. So in transitioning, we have 4 or 5 properties that we need to know. We have the transition property, the transition duration, the transition timing function, and the transition delay. Apparently, there are 4. So transition property, transition duration, transition timing function, and transition delay. So the transition property is the CSS property we want to animate. So do you want a transition? So the CSS property, do you want color? Is it the color property you want to animate? Is it the transform CSS property you want to animate? Whatever CSS property you want to animate, you can use transition property to be able to do that. So let's say, for example, I come here. So I come to the parent element. I come to this button here. So I do transition property. So I say, okay, the property I want to transition is what? Background color. So if you not specify background color, or if you not specify explicitly the CSS property you want to animate, is going to default to all. So it's going to default to what? All. So if you come here, hold on, it's going to default to all. Let me show you that. Or is it? Is it here? I'm coming. Yeah, I think this part here. So transition property. So can you see the value? You have to provide the property name. If you don't provide the property name, it's going to default to what? All. All. You see that now? All. So it applies to all elements, e- even for before and after pseudo element. It applies to it. So we specify the background property. Then the next one we need to specify is the duration of the transition. The duration of the transition, the timing. How long do you want it to transition from that property, from that background to the background of the over? So we are going to do that. So I'll just say transition duration. So it can be in seconds and it can be in milliseconds. But just know that 1 seconds equals 1000 milliseconds. So if you want 1 seconds, you can do 1 seconds like this. Or most of the times you want to make it very short. So you can do you can make it in milliseconds like 300 ms, that's milliseconds, 400 ms, that's milliseconds. But if you want to convert this to seconds, you can just do zero point 0.4 sec, zero point 0.5. But let me make it 1 seconds. So I make it 1 seconds. Let's see what we are going to get here. So now watch. Okay. Hope we are not getting anything wrong here. Transition property. Is it supposed to be in, am I supposed to put it in a quote or what? Okay, I don't think it's supposed to be in a quote. All right, okay, let's move on. But it's supposed to work like this because it's still sorting. Oh, my bad. I just put one here. I didn't add second. That's S. All right, so let's save. Now watch. Can you see the smooth transition from hot pink to green, from green to what? Hot pink. Can you see? If I over on it, mouse over away from it, mouse in, mouse over. You see that transition now? Nice. All right, the next one we're going to look at is the timing function. Timing function. So this controls the speed of the transition. It controls the speed of the animation. So we have common values like is, because the default value for timing function is what is. That's the default is. So what does it mean? Smooth acceleration and deceleration. Smooth acceleration and deceleration. So this is here. So it says that it starts slowly, accelerate quickly, and then slows down at the end. Then we have linear. Linear means it stays consistent from the transition beginning to the end. Then we also have another value for the timing function. We have ease in. So ease in simply means it starts slowly, then speeds up. Then we also have ease out. It starts out fast, then slows down. Then we also have easing out. It starts slowly, speeds up, and then slow down again at the very end. So you can use any transition timing transition that you want, or you can default to the, you can use the default value, which is what is. So if I do transition timing function, so you have is, so you have ease in out, ease blah blah blah. So you can use anyone actually. You can use anyone. So if I save ease in out, can you see very sudden? Let's see, let's over on it. Okay, good. All right. So the last but not the least is transition delay. So for transition delay, this is actually optional. It is optional. So this, it sets a wait time before the transition starts. You can set a wait time before the transition starts. So you can do something like transition, where is it? Transition delay. So let's say I want to delay like 1 seconds before it starts. So you want it to delay like 1 second before it starts. So now watch. Even though I over on it, it's going to delay 1 seconds, then it will not start. You see that? So it delayed 1 seconds before it would start. So it will delay 1 seconds, then it transition to the color. Then when I mouse over, it's also going to delay 1 seconds, then it will not transition back to the original background color. You see that now? But the thing is, you don't want to use delay. You get that now? So, but there's a shorthand for this. There's a shorthand for this. So let me just comment this part. But there's a shorthand for this. So for the shorthand, it's quite easy. Just do something like transition. Good. So this shorthand will be the first value for this shorthand will be transition property. So you have to specify the property background color. Then space followed by the duration. So the duration, look at it here. So the transition duration 1 seconds. Then we now have the transition timing function, then the transition delay. But the transition delay is actually optional, so you don't need it. So let's remove it. So if you save now, look at what we have. Good. You see? Good. So that's that about transition. But we can still make this shorter a bit. So if I can remove this easing out, so I'll default to what do you call it, to ease, because ease value is the default for transition timing function. So I'm going to default to that. So let's change this from 1 seconds to what is 0.4. So if I save now, you see it's going to be, it transitioned, but it's just that I saw this kind of fast because of the timing. So I can also remove this transition property, because if I don't specify transition property, it's going to default to all. So apparently the all here is just this one here. So if I over on this and look at, you see that now. Good. Fantastic. So we just say transition is 0.4 seconds. So whatever property that you set for the over state of the button, that is what is going to be transition. So if you have more than one property there, it's going to transition all. You get that? It's going to transition all. If you have more than one property for the over state of the button, it's going to transition all the property. But if you only want to transition the, okay, let's say for example, I give this a border now, a border of 2 pixel solid, and let me use this. No, no, no. 6 9. Yeah. Let me use this. If I over on it here, let me look for something thicker. All right, good. If you save, now watch what we are going to get. Can you see? It overs. Even the border too was also overed. So when we over on the, sorry, when we over on the this element now, even the border also was what transitioned. Can you see? Look at the smooth transition. But just that something is happening here, is making it bigger somehow. Why? Because of the additional what border that we add to it. So let's say for example, instead of setting border to be none here, I can just say, okay, I want the button to have a border, but I want it to be transparent. I want the border color to be transparent. So I can just do 2 pixel solid, and the color should be what? Transparent. So now the button already have what? A border. The button already has a border. The border which is 2 pixel. So here, instead of doing border 2 pixel, I'm just going to do border color. So doing this, I'll just do border color. So I want to change it from transparent to what? This color. You get that now? So if I save now, and look at what we have. It's not like zooming out like the way so it's not like that. So can you see? So even the border is being what? Transition slowly. So let me make this 1 second so you see it better. So now watch. So if I do this, even the border is coming out gradually. You see that now? Why? Because when we not specify this transition property we want to transition, it's just going to default to all. You get that now? It's going to default to all. So but if I specify a transition property, let me just do background color, background color, and I save. Now watch, the border just comes suddenly. Why? The background color transition. Can you see that now? The border comes out suddenly. Why? The border color, sorry, the border color comes out suddenly. Why? The background color is being what? Transitioned. All right, so that's that about transitioning. So the next one we are going to look at is adding transform property, such as translate and scale, such as translate and scale. So this is where we are going to end today's class. We're going to end today's class here. All right, so let me go to my readme. So for CSS transform, the property in CSS allows you to apply 3D, that's two dimension, or 2D or 3D transformation to an element. It modifies how an element appears by translating, rotating, scaling, or skewing it without affecting the document workflow. Without affecting the document flow. But two properties we are going to be looking at under transition transform is going to be translate and what scale. Maybe in a much later time from now, I'm going to do a detailed tutorial on CSS transform and CSS animation. I'm going to do a detailed tutorial on that. But as it relates to our goal, the website we want to create, we are just going to look at translate and what scale. So probably later on in 2025, I'm going to do a detailed tutorial on CSS transform and animation. All right, so let's move on. So for the two values we are going to be looking at under CSS transform, which is translate and scale. So let me create a new file for that. So I'll just do transform.html. I'll generate my boilerplate. So yeah, I'll call it CSS transform. CSS transform, and what should I call this? Okay, let me do a box or a okay, let me do a div. A div, let me call this, let me give it a class of box. So style tag dot box. I'm going to give it a width of 200 pixel, a height of 200 no, 200 pixel, and what again? Background color of red. Let me use red. Okay, so let me open this my browser. All right, so this is what we have here. This is what we have. Let me center it. Margin 0, then auto. So it has been, so yeah, it has been centered. So what I'm going to do is this. Let me put that side by side with my VS Code. Okay, good. So now transform. We have translate. So translate moves an element along the x-axis and the y-axis. So it moves an element along the x-axis and what? The y-axis. So if you do something like transform, so you come to the element you want to translate, or you want to add transform property to. So you do transform and then yeah, translate. So you can either have translate x, translate y, or normal translate here. But we also have translate 3D. That's when you want to have a 3D effect and all that, and translate Z2 for also for 3D. So I'm just going to do translate X. So this translate X is going to move the element box. It's going to move the element along the x-axis. So it's going to move this box here along the x-axis. So if I do something like 20 pixel now, just watch. If I save, watch, it moves it to the right. 20 pixel. Let me make it very obvious. So if I do something like 60 pixel, so 60 pixel is going to move it 60 pixel to the right. So that's translate X. It's going to move it 60 pixel to the right. And if I do minus 60 pixel, it's going to move it 60 pixel to the left. You see that now? 60 pixel to the left. You see? All right. And if I also do translate Y, and I make it a positive value, I do a positive value, translate Y. Can you see? It's moving it 60 pixel from the top. And if I do minus 60 pixel now, it's going to move it 60 pixel to the top. You get that now? So you see, very simple. So that's that about translate X and Y. And if you don't add an axis like translate x or y, and you just do something like this, minus 60 pixel and also comma minus 60 pixel. So um this first value here is going to represent the x-axis, while the second value is going to represent what, the y-axis. So if I save now, look at what we have here. You see that now it's moving it. It moves it 60 pixel to the right and 60 pixel to the bottom or from the top. So you see that, fantastic. So let me comment this. So I'm going to do also, if I save now to go take it back to the original position. So if I do translate, okay, transform, then scale. So this scale, actually, let's look at it here. The scale resizes the element. It can make it bigger. We can increase the element by using the scale value, or we can also decrease the element by using what, scale what value. So we can, let's give it a, so let's come here. So if I give it 1, okay, we have scale x and we also have scale y. So you get, so for scale x, if I give you something like 1 by default, so the default is what, 1. The default value is what, 1. That's why I say nothing is happening here, nothing is changing, because what, the default value is 1. So imagine if I make it 1.5, can you see it's going to be bigger? You see that now, it's going to be bigger. 1.5 is going to be what, bigger. So 1 is actually equivalent to 100%. So if you do 1.5, that simply means 150%. So if I make this 2 now, it's going to make it's going to be twice as big as its original width size. So you see that now, that's for x. So if I do for y, if I do y, capital letter y, so you see it's going to be longer for y. And if I don't specify any axis, I just do 2 comma and 2. Now let's see what we're going to get. Can you see that now? It increases the size both on the x-axis and the y-axis. And if I want it to make it, if I want it to be very small, so I can do 0.5, and I can also do 0.5 here. So you can play around with it. So can you see, very small. So let's say, for example, I want the width to be small, but I want the height to be long. So I can do this 0.5 then 2 pixel. You see that? Nice. And if I want this also to be long, so 2, and I want the height to be 0.5, I can do this too. You see that now? Fantastic. So you see, that's it. But let me comment this. So let's see how we can increase this. We can transform this element when we over on it. So we want to combine transition and transform together to create a smooth animation. You get that now? So I'm just going to do this. I'll do dot box, then over, and I will so let's say what I want to over on. So okay, let me do transform scale 2, then is 0 pixel. So what I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to come and I'll do transition. Let me make this 0.5 seconds or 0.4 seconds. So which simply means 400 milliseconds. So now I'm also going to make this cursor pointer. Let me do it here. Cursor to be pointer. So when I mouse over to the element, you are going to see the transition. You're going to see the transition effect. How the box will stretch. Look at now. So can you see? Nice. See that now? So this is, you can see how we merge transition and transform together to create this nice effect. You see that? Good. So you can also make this to be 0.5 and make this to be 2, and if you save, you see that now. Good. You see, and you can also make this to be 0.5, 0.5. If you save that now, see. Ooh, aha, see that? Good. I like this. So the same thing too for translate. Yes, translate. Yeah, if you do translate x and you do something like 60 pixel, now watch. Can see the transition. Good. I like this. So let's do minus. 60. You see that now? To move it to the left. So you can play around with it. We can play around with it. So I think that's all. So that's all. So we've looked at layout, positioning, transition, and what transform. You get that now? So we've looked at all of this. So the next thing or the next topic we are going to be looking at in our next class, that will be CSS Flexbox and CSS what grid. CSS Flexbox and CSS grid. So once we are done with that, then we move to what responsive design with media query. So we have two topics before us, or three topics to cover before we end this bootcamp, and we have a project to do. So let me show you one more project. I think we have to do um like aside from the capstone project, we have to do two more projects. I have to do two more projects. Hold on. So this is it. We're going to look at this. We're going to build this after we've done what do you call it? CSS, Flexbox, and Grid. So look at this project and we'll look at this project. We'll do this project together. So something like this. We'll do all of this together. All right. So then afterwards, we can then start building the capstone project, which is Asian website here. We're going to build this. So we're going to build this together. Then afterwards, I'm going to give you a project to do. I'll give you one project to do on your own that you can submit to me. So even though you are watching this video later on, if you're watching this video on YouTube later on, all you just have to do is just go you can reach out to me on Instagram. Just search for learn at your pace.ig. So this is it here. Learn at your pace.ig. Let me write it here. Learn at your pace dot what ig. So learn at your pace.ig. Send me a message there. Then we can talk there. You can even submit your project there. So I'm going to be giving you a project. Please, I'm going to be giving you a project. I'm going to be giving you a project. So once we are done with all of these, then I'll give you a project to do. So once you are done, you can submit it to me. Then after this HTML and CSS bootcamp, then we would move to JavaScript. So JavaScript simplified. So apparently it's not a free course, it's going to be a paid course, but it is very, very, very affordable. The cost is just $20. Just what? $20. So as soon as we are done with this free 2 weeks web development bootcamp on HTML and CSS, then if you are interested in enrolling for my JavaScript course called JavaScript Simplified, goes for $20. Um, if you're ready to enroll, just reach out to me on Instagram. Get that now? Reach out to me on Instagram. Reach out to me on Instagram. All right, so I think we are done for today. All right, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoy the video, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and what comment. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and what comment. Thank you. Bye bye.